should I go with something like that you could play, make it accessible? Should you go with something that feels where you just have the most fun? Should it be based on architecture, like the best American golf course? But I think something that ticks like a lot of boxes outside of the accessibility, like for me. And there was, I put Sand Hills right in there. I put Pine Valley right in there for the best golf course. Not to be too chalky about it, but Pine Valley is 18 just crazy good golf holes. I'm going to go, this is a chalky pick, but
today we're going to answer an impossible question. What is the greatest golf course in America? Luckily, we've got the perfect guy recruited to help us there, or at least take a wandering path and end up with an answer. But, like any round of golf, it's not about your final score. It's about what you did on your way there. This will be a wandering chat. We'll talk about the ingredients of great golf, Linksland golf in the UK and Ireland versus American golf. Tom is a lover of American golf, but he's also literally walked around the island of Ireland looking for the soul of golf and, an answer to various of his own life's challenges across multiple books. He's kind of continued to put himself into sticky situations to see how he gets out of them and remind us that there's a lot of adventure in golf, and that's why we like it. So, we'll talk about what makes golf so personal, what it's like to be a golfer, writer, course operator, and how being a writer kind of affects that. We'll make Tom give his 5, if he could only play 5 courses for the rest of his life, what would they be? And then we'll make him give an answer to the greatest golf course in America. That's it. Enjoy the chat. I'm Dylan Dethier. This is The Drop Zone, and this is Tom Coyne. Joining me now, the author of A Course Called Ireland, A Course Called Scotland, A Course Called America, and A Course Called Home. Tom, am I right? That's officially out May 5th?
May 5th, Dylan. And when you list them all like that, it just sounds we're terribly uncreative with the titles. It's just like, come on, man.
This is like the superhero, phase of the world. You're creating universes here, Tom. He's also an editor at the Golfers Journal, podcast host, social media darling. It's Mr. Tom Coyne. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Dylan. It's great to be here with you. Love everything that you do. Big fan here. So this is awesome. And was also talking about your golf prowess recently with one of your former college teammates, that one Drew Murray, who I saw this weekend. So
I love to hear that. Drew Murray, like myself, is a lover of the rope hook. So we always got along well.
Oh yeah, he's a big rope guy. But your legend lives on for sure.
Hopefully grows. Yeah. Tom, I guess you've walked Ireland, traversed Scotland, you've done the Great American Road Trip kind of many times over. You've more recently become an owner operator of a golf course. To start specific, what makes a golf course great? What are the ingredients?
Yeah, what makes a golf course great? It's a big question, and it's one that you certainly used to be a lot more theoretical for me and just fun to kick around. Now it actually matters that we're operating Sullivan County Golf Club up in Liberty, New York. So, David McClay I asked him this question, and he boiled it down nicely to 2 things, which was memorability and fun. And I think that's a pretty good, those are 2 pretty good metrics, right? Like if you can leave a golf course and recall holes and recall shots, then they had your attention, right? They made some sort of imprint in your imagination. I mean, how many times have we walked off a course, and I'll never have that recollection, which I think is very impressive when people have that, where they're like, oh, on the 6th was this and the 8th was this, I have to run it through through my round to do that math. But if there are holes and shots that I'm thinking about when I fall asleep that night, that generally to me feels like great golf. and then the fun factor, right? Did I enjoy it? Would I run back to the first tee? Would I change in one of my books I have like a change of flight metric. Like, would I change my flight and pay the change fee back when they had, I don't think they have change fees really anymore. Would I do that for another shot to play this course? And if I would, then I must have had a pretty good time. So I think memorability and fun, there's so many other factors that do go into it that are like sub factors of what goes into having fun. You know, the welcome, the food, the hang afterwards, the vibe, all that stuff. You know, those are all very important. And I think we've, and you know, just talking about it as an operator now, I think we've got the vibe down pretty good at Sullivan County. Very chill. Bring your dog. No tee times. Just rock up, as they say, and play some golf. And that's what I love about it. And it's extremely affordable as well. So very accessible. So those are all good things, I think, to add to the fun factor. And the golf holes are pretty memorable too. They're on the side of a mountain. You'll remember losing golf balls because they rarely stay on the mountain. But you know, then there's like, okay, design lineage and like shot values and all that stuff. And I think that I don't try to break it down too much into like the metrics that a rater has to use. It's just generally for me, like, how much did I love my day and how excited would I be if you told me I could relive it?
Yeah. I mean, you get to, two important things there. One being the disappearance of change fees, which is like just one of the best, one of the actual positive things that's happened sort of in the world the last few years.
That's true.
We're one of the magazines that rates golf courses, and I think we do a pretty good job, all things considered. But I guess I'm curious what effect you think that process has on the way golfers think about and experience golf in the world. Like it's such a personal thing. Do you think that the fact that, you know, being a top 100, this and that, or having a certain level of prestige assigned to it, does that mess up the way we think about golf?
It's interesting, right? I love the rating thing, and I think you guys do an excellent job, and because they're so fun to debate, right? And people get upset and people get excited and all that stuff, and that's good. If people are talking about golf and golf courses, that's great. And I think the ratings are really good for that. Obviously, exceptionally subjective. Everyone has their favorites that'll never be on a list, but it does kind of it's interesting if a course is rated in the top 100, you're going to show up, especially if you traveled to get there, or it's a special invite, or it's a really hard place to get on. You're going to be inclined to like it. Kaiser used to talk about Bandon and say, once you've traveled like that far, you're going to show up ready to be happy and ready to enjoy it, right? And no matter really what happens, you're going to say, I had the best time ever. And Bandon's so great, you are gonna have the best time ever. But I think yes, having a ranking attached, there's the brag factor, there's the excitement factor, there's all that stuff that goes into it that I think makes people inclined to like it and to say that they thought it was a great golf course. Because God forbid you go to Fisher's Island and you don't get it, and you come back and you say, because I was at Fisher's and they were talking about someone who played it and said something like, "It's just too much water," and right, like you don't want to be that dude because you look like an idiot. Because here it is in the top 10 or whatever, and so I think that the rankings do poison the sample a little bit, if you will. That and I guess that's probably why some courses are always going to be there, because on that list, there's a lot of courses on there that I'm sure that raters are not playing, but they know that it's exceptional, and it's interesting. It's almost like the harder it is to get on and the harder it is to access, that there is a certain prestige and quality to that, which is very different than golf in Ireland and the UK, but that's okay. But yeah, I think it's fun. I think the rating thing is it's a lot of fun to kick it around. It's a lot of fun when someone pops in or falls off and like, what happened? It's like college ratings. Like, the school got dumber or something? Like, I don't know. Like, what happened there?
But yeah, you've immersed yourself in like the culture in the U.S. and also abroad as much as just about any American. You walked the Ring of Ireland. How many miles did you walk when you walked around Ireland? Do you know?
Yeah, a course called Ireland was 1,100 miles on foot. I had an old school pedometer. This was prior to being able to wear something on your wrist that tells you everything you did that day.
Right.
So I had a pedometer on my waist, counting my steps and mileage. So yeah, that was 1,100 miles over 4 months.
And what's the biggest cultural difference between the Linksland and in Ireland and Scotland and American golf?
Quite a few.
Yeah.
Quite a few. And there's things, and it's not all like we do it wrong. That's not it. We do some things here tremendously well, and you can see them even being copied over there. But I mean, the first thing that absolutely jumps out is accessibility and just the way that they're able to marry visitor tee times at member clubs, right? So that you can show up and play. Granted, Royal County down in Port Roger are already booked for the next year. So, but you could have gotten a tee time there for sure, So even, Muirfield, whatever, there's that opportunity to play these places. And it's funny when when I'll talk to an Irish friend or whatever, they're like, yeah, I want to come over to the States and, we're going to, I want to play Marion, and I think I want to play Oakmont, and then I want to do this, and you're like, all right, time out. Not going to do any of that. Especially when they say they're going to do it on this. I had one friend who's like, and we're going to do it Marion in the morning and Oakmont in the afternoon. I'm like, Pennsylvania is a little like bigger than County Mayo, but just how they've been able to do that. And I absolutely admire that and appreciate that. And our model, every once in a while you'll hear about a new course being done or something that, we're going to use the British or the Irish model, right? And then you realize your construction budget is $20 million and the clubhouse is going to be another $5 million and all that. And that kind of goes out the window. And so it doesn't work as well over here. That's why we end up with private clubs with big initiation fees, because building golf is expensive. But when you're talking about links courses that have been around for 100+ years and that have a small clubhouse that don't do weddings or whatever, they have just a simple place to have a pint after golf, and their overhead is very low. Their maintenance crew is small. Their maintenance facility is modest. Natural conditions are expected and appreciated. Your overhead is completely different, than what you're talking about at your American country club. So, given that, golf is affordable for the local residents. You can belong to some of the biggest name courses in Ireland or Scotland, for $1,000 a year or much less. So that's amazing. So you get a different kind of membership mix where it's like, hey, the postman belongs here, the school teacher belongs here, etc. And I think that creates a culture where there's, we attach status to club membership, especially, maybe at certain clubs. And there is, it doesn't necessarily exist. I mean, yes, the RNA, there's big status to belonging to that or to the honorable company and those kinds of things. But for the most part, it's like, well, I belong to my local golf course, and I can afford to do that, which is really quite nice. So being able to show up and play, wonderful. For folks there, being able to afford their golf club, it's really, really great. And they're smart about it, because then our Americans show up and we pay these visitor prices and basically underwrite their cheap dues every year. Like, what a win. I wish, like in my club, you want to let 12 visitors play every day, and then, you're going to chop my dues down by X. Like, I'm in for sure.
Totally. Yeah. It sounds like the dream trade-off. Well, and what I appreciated about your book about American golf is, you were in the hunt for the great American golf course, and you're recognizing that, there can be a tendency, especially among American golf writers, or people that have traveled around a little bit, just to glorify everything that happens in the UK and Ireland as, the only version of good golf. And once you've experienced that, there's nothing in the US that can compare. But what is great about American golf, I guess? What is a great American golf course?
Yeah, and honestly, Dylan, I'd become that guy, and that's why I wanted to do the America book, because I was such a links snob, and it was like, man, I don't even know golf in my own country. Like, what am I talking about? So, like, let's go out and do it. So, went and played all 50 states, and following in your footsteps, young man. I still have an email from you when you were in college.
I've got it pulled up. We'll get to it in a minute. I copied your idea, then you came back and copied me back.
Then I came back and copied you right over the top. But yeah, there's a lot of things that we absolutely do right at American golf courses. I think one, like, golf clubs are nice. Country clubs are pretty sweet, right? Like, the way that they can become like the center of, like, for my family, like, we belong to a club here in Philadelphia, Waynesboro. We love it. I'm not there very much because I'm, you know the deal. We're out on the road bouncing around,
gallivanting.
We're gallivanting. We're gallivanters. But my wife loves to play tennis now, and my kids love to go to the pool and all those things, and the food's good, and so it just becomes part of, like, and that's where we've made a lot of friends, and so that it offers all these other, like, possibilities and things you can do, which is, hey, that's great. Service is fantastic. You can get married at the golf club you grew up at. That's something you probably aren't going to do in Scotland. The quality of the agronomy is, I mean, it's funny. Like, we'll go on trips to Ireland and be like, I love how rugged this is. And then the next week come home and be like, why is that blade of grass pointing right instead of left? And yeah, man, the conditions, like, we're spoiled. We play in some great conditions. And it's also easy. There's an ease to it that is, just show up and someone gets you clubs. You're just, it's sort of pampered and taken care of. Is sometimes part of the American golf experience, and that's great. Because I think for some people more so than, there's people in America that play golf or go on golf trips, maybe do like one trip a year with their buddies, and aren't like, where golf can be secondary, I think, sometimes for the American golfer, where it is more about, like, all right, do they have, like, drones to fly in drinks, and what's the comfort station like, and, like, all that stuff. Like, there's a lot of other things that can make the day awesome, whether or not you really care that much about your golf. But if you're going to a place like Machrihanish, you're there to golf, and that's pretty much what you have to do. Yes, you can have pints afterward, but it's a much more golf first. Score matters. There are tons of competitions. Like at our club, we have, you got the member, the member guest, club championship, a couple other things sprinkled out. But in, like, Scotland and Ireland, every weekend there's a medal on or something. They're playing for something. So makes their handicaps quite legit. So yeah, that's another thing going for us. We can have much easier to have a vanity handicap in America. So that's nice. But I think that the overall just ease and comfort of golf in, the American Country Club is quite nice. but again, like the public scene, at least in Philadelphia, is one that's not great. There aren't that many cities, I think, in America that would say like we have a great public golf scene. I mean, there are a few, but it's really tough if you're not a member somewhere. So I don't want to go back to like what they do better, but that's something where if you're not a member of a club and you want to play open days, you want to do this, that, and the other, there are more playing opportunities in Scotland and Ireland. So hopefully that's something that continues to change. And I think we're going in the probably going in the right direction, but not very fast.
It is just a funny thing that, you know, for all of golf's exclusivity in America, like that really seems to be a thing that's true in like urban centers, places that have a lot of people, where there's more demand for, I guess, space and nice golf courses. But as you have now found out, and you know, I grew up in a small town in Massachusetts, like if space is available and there aren't that many people around, then suddenly your golf expenses drop pretty significantly, even if you have a nice course. So that has been an interesting thing. You know, I live in Seattle now. I lived in New York for several years, and it is just a completely different golf experience. People have such different relationships with the game and what it means when there's a lot of other people competing for the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Seattle is, I mean, how far are you from like, what is it, Gold Mountain?
Yeah, maybe an hour. But I'm like,
yeah, that's a cool spot.
I'm like 4 minutes from Inter Bay Golf Center, which is, you know, there's the first hole's a par 4, and then it's all par 3s, and there's a mini golf course, and there's a double-decker driving range, and it's like the greatest urban golf experience I've ever seen. I think Seattle does very well as far as like public golf is considered, but
that's great.
But yeah, it's a hard thing to do. I guess that connects to. You mentioned this email. I sent you an email in 2009 when I was about to leave on a golf trip of my own. It's just scary thinking about how long ago that was. And asked for advice because I was thinking about, you know, this was pre-Instagram, which is crazy to think about. This was in the still in the personal blog heyday. And so I was asking, you know, how to think about golf and travel and writing. And you sent back a lengthy email. It was incredibly generous of you, but the end of it has probably informed my whole career. So here, I'll just read the end excerpt. You said, "Do your trip, do it big and bold and ridiculous, and when you're finished, you'll know what the story is. And as with all stories, it'll be about a hero on a quest, facing obstacles, wrestling with circumstances, surviving, even triumphing. And it's so much more compelling than the 'we showed up, it rained, I shot 86' garbage that some people think constitutes a golf book. My simplest advice, let it be less about golf and more about people," which I think is awesome.
Hey, that's not bad. I got to give myself that advice. Thank you for reminding me of all that.
Yeah, you knew that. But I'm curious how being a writer affects the way you like think about golf and how golf and storytelling are kind of intertwined, because they really seem to be. I guess a different way of thinking about it, that is like, how does being a writer affect the way you think about golf courses?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm an accidental golf writer. You know, like I went to a MFA program in fiction writing, and I was trying to write all these stories that like, this is the New Yorker would like this, you know, like stuff I knew nothing about and any life experience. I'm 23 years old. But I'd played golf my whole life and I'd caddied my whole life. And so started writing about a caddy. But what I started to realize is that like in doing that and what kind of like, I don't know how to write a novel either. But the great thing that golf gave me, and as a writer continues to give me, is it gave me like, okay, it gave me a setting that I could handle, right? Like a golf club, and which is a pretty compelling setting because, you know, just the clubhouse literally was like it was like an upstairs, downstairs world of like, okay, the members juxtaposed against these caddies that were pretty hard Scrabble kind of characters, and in my life and in the novel. So that was an interesting kind of tension. And then there was obviously the tension and the challenge of like, golf is really hard. And, is someone going to triumph, or are they going to come up short? So it gives you the playing ground. There's something at stake. It gives you tons of characters. So if you just looked at like, what are the building blocks of story? And then went on to teach creative writing like forever. And, I don't teach anymore, but I never thought like, I wish my students were golfers, but those that understood that fundamental idea of like, all right, I need a problem, people who could get that right off the bat, even though I would tell them you need a problem, but people who really grasp that, golf is really good at giving you problems. Drama is by definition about crises and problems. So golf is a game, gives you that to play with, good setting, good characters, all that interesting stuff. It can give you you can look at a broad swath of people as well, the haves, the have-nots, whatever. So that's all really fun to play with. I think that obviously as a game, there's so much downtime, there's such little action in a round of golf. You can boil it down to, you're out there for 4 minutes and there's probably a few minutes of actual action. What do you fill the rest with? It's either it's in your head, or it's in conversation, or it's in the conversations you have afterward. Golf reveals people. We always talk about that cliche, you don't know anyone until you play golf with them. But for the most part, it kind of holds true, right? I mean, you've played with some, and I've played with some people whose resumes we'd say like, man, I have nothing to say to you. Like, I don't know why we're walking next to each other. But when you're on the golf course, you're all like on the same lifeboat, right? Because golf's hard. And you see people who aren't humble being humbled. You see humble people doing incredible things. So there's all that stuff is like really, really good to play with. But I think for me, in all the books, what it's given me the most is it's given me trajectory. Like, it's given me, there's always the next hole, the next day, the next course, the next place, the next challenge. And that, it's one thing to have a concept for a book, but it's another thing when you get to chapter 4 and you're like, I don't know what the hell chapter 5 is. Golf's good like that, because after hole number 4 comes hole number 5. And there's going to be different crises and different problems. So that mindset of like moving through a round of golf, I even ripped it off in the first book. Like, I think the first half of the book is called Out, the second half is called In, and I almost made it feel like a scorecard. And that, so it gives you framework as well. So there's a lot of pieces, it's a lot of stuff that as a writer that it helps you. But the thing where it doesn't help you is if you want to be the golfer playing great golf. And I found this when I did Paper Tiger. I was trying to play pro golf, play at the next level. And I'm also writing a book about my experience. So I'm noticing everything, right? I'm super curious about, why is he doing that? Why is she doing that? Blah, blah, blah. And, from playing competitive golf, when you're playing your best golf, you don't know what the hell anybody else is doing. It's just, you're doing your thing and you're so into your thing. Now, if I did that, it would have been a really short and boring book. If it was just like, I was in the zone and I flushed the 5 iron.
That was it. Yeah.
And that's all I remember was the sound of the ball finding that's not going to be a compelling narrative. So the writer's mindset, which is to look around, to notice everything, to be curious, to take small details and turn them into things of significance, because every detail is significant if you look at it from the right angle. That probably doesn't lend itself to elite golf. So you give some and you get some.
Yeah. They're like, this modern social media era, I guess, has made athletes more self-conscious, I think, which has always struck me as a really hard thing to do while being a peak performer. Like, if you're thinking about the comment section, God forbid, while you're playing in the NBA Finals or something like that. I always think about Max Homa did a podcast with Shane Bacon for a while, and I think part of the reason that he stopped, I mean, and some of it was maybe logistics, but him talking about, you know, if I play a bad round of golf, then boom, I have to go relive it on this podcast. And maybe eventually you start thinking about the podcast while you're playing golf. And we went to Alaska and filmed a thing about a U.S. Open qualifier a few years ago. And
yeah, I remember you did
and
that.
definitely while I was playing the round, it was hard to ditch the idea of, okay, you know, how is this going to look playing back later? So I think it's hard to stay out of your own mind. And as like a writer or whatever content person, which makes me always cringe to think that way, but like I like when everyone plays their part, I guess, when the golfers are golfers and they're in their zone and we can try to make sense of it. And does that then apply? I mean, you said you need a problem to tell a story, and you have now purchased a problem. Got your book here, a course called Home.
Yes.
How does everything that has come before inform your role as the head of Sullivan County Golf Club, which I guess I've really buried the lead here, which is a golf course, 9-hole golf course with an epic history in the Catskills that you're now, at least in part, in charge of.
Yeah. It's funny. I don't know how all this led up to, you know, what I'm doing now, because it is a big shift. You know, these stories have been itinerant. Like they're, you know, I'm here to there. It's, I show up at a place, I play it, I move on. You know, they're sort of like Odyssey quests, and Sullivan County was really different. It's one place for 3 years. With a cast of characters. Now as a writer, I really enjoyed that because I hadn't had the opportunity to really, like, a character like Sean, my superintendent, who I hope is really the central figure in the story. You know, the chance to really like develop a character over time and see how they deal with a challenge and how they change as their world starts to change around them. I never hung around long enough to really grab that from. You know, people would travel with me for a while in Scotland and Ireland. They would have story arcs, and they showed up one way and they left another, and they left as change people and all that, and that's fine. But, you know, when you're really talking about people and their families and a group of people that are working together that become like a family, it was a totally different kind of project. And you know, it came together out of a DM on Twitter saying like, hey, this golf course is going to close. I'm the superintendent. Would you maybe, you know, write something about it? Or do you know someone who would be interested in investing, et cetera, et cetera? So I thought it'd be a decent magazine story. I went up and looked at it, and I had a book deal at the time without a subject. I think the contract said golf book, which is somewhat vague. And so I started to think, like, you know, we bought a zoo. Like, what if, like, we got involved in this thing and really did it? So it was just kind of like for funsies, like a lark, and let's see what happens. The place was not making it financially, so I couldn't really kill it because it was on its last leg, you know? Yeah, it became so much, you know, becomes so much more than that. Once you start, you know how we work. Like, I mean, you at least have, I mean, we both have colleagues at the places where we work, but for the most part, we stare at a screen, and we're a team. Sometimes a lot, probably too much of our time is a team of one. And you know, now I'm up there mowing the grass and working in the pro shop with guys, and it becomes this. I'm like on a crew for the first time in my life, and I'm loving it. And I just really got invested in that feeling, and then it becomes like, okay, this place isn't going to die on my watch, and so, yeah, I think my experience in the past was useful in saying like, okay, I know what a good course looks like, And I also know what I fell in love with 9-hole golf in Scotland and Ireland, where it doesn't carry the stigma that I think it carries a little bit in the United States, where people say 9-hole golf course isn't a real golf course, or it's a chip and putt or something like that. There are proper, Sutton in Dublin is a prestigious competitive golf club, and it's 9 holes. Crutch Island in Donegal is one of the wildest, greatest places in the world, and it's 9 holes. So that's fine. You just go around and you play it again if you want to get an 18-hole score. So I loved 9-hole golf already, so it didn't take a lot of convincing for me. And at one point in Sports Illustrated, years, long time ago, I wrote this defense of the 9-holer and how it was going to save golf. And I forgot that I wrote that until I was doing the book, and I'm like, oh man, this is like the universe, saying put your money where your mouth is. So my love of 9-hole golf that came from Ireland and Scotland, also understanding that simple is just fine. A simple little clubhouse, a place to get a beer afterward, doesn't have to be a lot, doesn't have to be fancy, that was going to be absolutely fine. And people that maybe haven't had that perspective have come and seen the course, and they're like, oh, when are you building 18? When are you going to knock down the clubhouse? Where's the locker room? New locker room is going to be done. Where are the tennis court? That's not, I was never tempted to do any of that because I'd seen golf on a small scale done so well as I was bouncing around UK and Ireland.
Did you know at the outset that this would all be so personal, that you writing about golf courses and about your own journey is it inevitably such a personal experience, or has it kind of become more so that way as you dive deeper and deeper into this world? When you were writing a course called Ireland, did you know that we were going to kind of be able to track a lot of your life through your writing in golf?
It's pretty crazy, right? No, I don't think I expected that at all, to be honest. And I think that's why my wife wants me to go back to writing novels, because she's like, I keep showing up. She's in each book, each next book she's in more than the last one. So no, I didn't expect that, but it became pretty clear pretty on when I made the transition, early in my career to writing nonfiction, that as we said, the story needs a hero. And I don't mean hero in the the He-Man sense, just talking about a protagonist going through these challenges, and that was going to be me, for better or not, for better or for worse. So and when you do that, you show, as you know, you have to show all the sides of the protagonist, the good and the bad, the successful and the flawed. And I got pretty flawed at a couple points in my life too, that I needed to be honest about. I think readers are smart, and if you pull punches and you're not giving them the whole thing, and you're not being vulnerable as a character, if you choose to make yourself a character in the story, they're going to know it. And your job as a writer is, even if you're writing fiction, it's a bit of an oxymoron, but your job is to tell the truth and give them that honesty, that vulnerability and honesty, and they're incredibly relatable. And we're trying to create these worlds that people can relate to and that they want to inhabit for a few minutes every day. So it had to become personal. But I had to be able to make it personal without it being, as they say in graduate school, navel gazing, to where it becomes indulgent, right? Where it's just like, let me tell you about my day. So if I can tell you about my day in a way that relates to your experience of the world and the stuff that you're going through, because I'm being so honest about the stuff that I'm going through, all right, then we're doing the job. Then there's a purpose and a usefulness to being personal. But being personal just for, the sake of cutting open your arm and bleeding is not useful. But when it's in the service of good story, then you got to do it. Then you got to be willing to go there. It's a lot easier than it used to be for me. In the beginning, it was a little weird. But now it's what do you want to know? I'm an open book, so to speak.
You're several open books now.
Several, I guess, yeah.
And I think golf writing is so appealing because of the way it can, not just get to the person, but also the place. I've already kept you longer than I promised, but the Catskills are such a rich setting, such a rich and uniquely American setting, I guess, for a golf
Yes.
course and for writing about golf. And I'm curious if you could tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was, and I'm happy to stay as long as you want. This is so fun. That jumped out to me immediately. You know, going up there, meeting Sean, I couldn't really see. The golf course was under snow. I didn't know what I was getting into with the golf course. The clubhouse was shuttered, so all those things were like to be figured out later. But Sean was great. But the place was so fascinating, right? I grew up in Philly. I'm not far from the Catskills, but I knew nothing about it other than, okay, I know boxers trained there back in the day. Jerry Lewis did stand up there, you know, Dirty Dancing. Like, I knew all that stuff. But I couldn't have told you if Catskills were Southern New York, you know, where in New York where they were. I mean, they could have been in Vermont. I'm not sure. And then all this fascinating history of like Sullivan County, and then the town where the golf course is called Liberty, New York. Like, oh, come on, man. This is the great. If I'm going to write about a small American town that's having hard times, calling it Liberty, New York, you do that in a novel and people think you're overdoing it. So it's got those great pieces. The area is fascinating. In 1960, Sullivan County, New York had more hotel rooms than any county in the United States. And now that is certainly not the case. So this is the home of these huge mega resorts, the American plan, where you paid your price and you got all your entertainment and your dancing and you learned the pachanga and all that stuff. And you went with your family for the whole summer. And that was this huge thing in the 50s and 60s. And these resorts couldn't build more rooms fast enough. It was certainly mostly, you know, it was largely like the Dirty Dancing model and Jewish clientele, but there were also sections of it that were Irish and that were Italian, and it was just these families and these ethnic groups that stuck together and came up from New York City for the summer to get the fresh air, you know. But along came air conditioning, along came cheap flights, along came civil rights, which is a good thing. I don't know why I even need
That's a good
to say that.
Good clarification.
I felt like I was blaming it for something, for ruining the
This
Catskills.
podcast would also like to clarify we're pro civil rights. Yeah.
We are. But it meant that anyone could go anywhere, right? And embolden people to do so. So I didn't have to go back to grandma's, the spot that she went and spent her summer. So that wasn't good for the resorts in and around Sullivan County, and it really fell off. But it's reinventing itself since COVID is something different. It's not far. It's 2 hours from New York City. It's beautiful. It's affordable for people who want to get a second vacation home. It's like going to Vermont, but it's just right there. We fell in love with it. We ended up buying a house up there. We like it so much. So, yeah, it's a cool place in the world. It really is.
And dare I ask, how's it going? Or is that more like, spoiler alert, maybe read the book and then check back in?
Yeah, I don't want to give away too much because it could still be, we don't know if this book's a comedy or a tragedy, not until you purchase it.
That's right.
Of course, to know how things are going. But anyone listening can help them go a little better by joining Sullivan County Golf Club. We are modeled very much on a Scottish and Irish payment scheme. $500 are your dues for the year. For the year. It's not your monthly dues. You're a member of a Met Section Golf Club for $500. So that's been pretty cool to be able to offer that and have people signing up and joining from, you know, Connecticut and New Jersey, and gosh, we have members from Ireland and England and Texas. And you know, the first year I remember we did like the memberships for locals was like 600 and it was 400 for non-resident, and there was all this like blow up about like, why are people from, you know, New Jersey getting this, paying $200 less than the people who live here, you know? And I'm trying to explain. I'm like, because you're never going to see them. They're joining because they saw this cool story on Instagram where they might come once a year. But I'm like, we have members from California and Texas. I don't think you're going to see them. The Irish members,
Yeah.
What they're basically doing is giving us money so that we can make your golf course go. And then they caught on, and they totally got it. But it's really cool to see people coming from, you know, when you come into the parking lot in the morning and you see license plates from different states. I think the old members still shake their heads like, what is that about? That's crazy. But it's good, man. You build something that that has soul to it and has a good feeling and where people are just really comfortable. That's really what we're after.
An evil genie arrives, Tom. His wishes in reverse here. It says, hey, you only have 5 rounds of golf left that you can ever play. Where are you going? What are your 5 golf courses that you're going to go visit, knowing this is it?
That is an evil genie for sure. I would say, all right, so we got to represent Ireland and Scotland. So in Ireland, I'm going to go to Coyne. In Belmullet in the far west coast. I am about as big of a Coyne fan as one can be. Very remote, very rugged, part of Ireland my family hails from long ago, and it's just a place where I feel like I do at Sullivan County. I feel at home. So I'm going to Coyne in Ireland. Scotland, I mean, you could go old course, right? I'm gonna go Machrihanish just because a little quieter. And I want to hit that first tee shot like a million times and just keep going around and around and around forever there. So that leaves me 3.
Your neighbor, Michael Bamberger, would approve of that choice, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, I totally did a Bamberger there.
No, it's good.
But that's cool. He's right. They used to, in the old clubhouse, they probably put it back. They had quotes from his book like painted on the walls. I haven't been there since it burned down and they built the new one, but it's a very, they're big fans of his there, as they should be. So then in the States, Sandhills. That's just a place, again, that you could just walk around forever. Love that. I'll have to go Rolling Green because I grew up there, and my memories of playing golf there with my dad, it's my golf life starts. Anything that I've been able to do or go or everything in my career starts with Rolling Green. So that would be a spot where the genie would have to take me. And then I should just throw in let's go to Fisher's Island. Let's just do it. Take me there, genie. Or you can just leave me at the ferry port because I think that's fun and that's part of it. And I'll just want to hang out there and even go to the Hay Harbor, the 9-holer. I'll cheat the list.
That's right.
But yeah, that's a good list.
That's terrific. I was wondering if Sullivan County was going to inevitably end up on there, but
well, I don't want to give away the ending of the book.
That's right. It might not even exist. We don't know.
It might not. It might not exist. Exactly.
All right, and then the one big question that we've sort of been circling in on, which is the idea of being here. What is the greatest American golf course? If there is one, what is it?
Big question, Dylan.
And it could be yours. Question. It could be your greatest American golf course. Not everyone would have the same answer, but it helps if yours is the correct answer.
Of course not. So taking Sullivan County Golf Club out of the equation, because I think in this question there's implied there are some, if you own the course, you can't use it and that's fair. I understand the subtext there. So I was thinking about this, and I mean, honestly, the America book is kind of like the quest to answer that question. But it was and in the book, I pose it a little differently. Say, what is the best American golf course, not the best golf course in America? Because if you pose it that way, then you have to decide what does American mean as a modifier, and then that becomes this interesting question and debate, and so. Does it have to be accessible? Does it have to, whatever. So, but rather than go down that
and it is an interesting debate, and everyone should go buy it and buy the course called box set wherever you can. Yes,
I know box set it. Why haven't we? Yeah, it was 2 different publishers involved. I guess we might never get the box set, but in any event, in thinking about this, so yeah, because it's hard because does it? Should I go with something that you could play, make it accessible? Should you go with something that feels where you just have the most fun? Should it be based on architecture, like the best American golf course? But I think something that ticks a lot of boxes outside of the accessibility. Like for me, and there was, I put Sand Hills right in there. I put Pine Valley right in there for the best golf course. Not to be too chalky about it, but Pine Valley is 18 just crazy good golf holes. I'm going to go, this is a chalky pick, but I'm going to go with Shinnecock. I got to go with Shinnecock. I mean, as much as I love, in some ways you could say you'd have like more fun going around its neighbor National or even its neighbor Southampton. Because Shinnecock can be difficult. I think it's just there's not a weak note on the course. It's so stunningly beautiful. The golf course lays on the land so beautifully, so naturally. It's hard, but it's not like Oakmont hard in the sense that I think it's Shinnecock misses the right miss is you're still playing golf and you got to maybe have a chance at par to scrap you up and down or something. Where sometimes at Oakmont there is no miss. As much as I love Oakmont, I love grinding. I like hard golf courses because they really get your attention and really make you focus, and that's like an intense emotional and intellectual thing. You're really invested. So Shinnecock, you get really invested. I wanted it to be a William Flynn too when I said the best American golf course because, well, I grew up at a William Flynn golf course, but he is like, I mean, he's a purely American golf course architect. And what I mean by that is he didn't travel to the old world and take inspiration from North Berwick or the old course. He's one of the golden age architects who never went. And so what he does is it's quite unique. Not that those like a Ross is not, but he just found golf holes and was created very natural, used the land in very natural ways. Like today we would think of him as like Bill Core, like finding the shapes out there. And I think he just did that so incredibly well at Shinnecock. And I also have to say I'm influenced by the opinion of Jimmy Dunn, who plays this game where he goes match play one first hole against first hole, and he has a crazy good memory. So he can do that with like the top 100 in the world or the top 100 in America. And for him, when he plays that game, Shinnecock wins every time. And so I'll let his opinion color mine a little bit. But man, it's so good. It's so good.
One thing I like about it that I think makes it a particularly eligible answer to this question is the fact that Long Island gets let in there every few years, not to play, but to watch golf. This serves as a good answer because that's where we're headed this summer for the U.S. Open. Everyone's going to be able to go and run around and scream at the golfers. And so there is an element of, the People's Championship, the American Championship happens there every so often.
Yes, indeed. It does. So, yeah, I didn't even think about that part of it. I mean, maybe it's been front of mind because I am thinking about U.S. Open, Shinnecock, Media Day, all those fun things.
That's right. Pine Valley, is such an American, big, brawny golf course, but it's still shrouded in secrecy, except when they let in fine publications like yours maybe for a little.
Well, when they let you in to play the Crump Cup.
That's right. No, I'm a professional. I'm technically still a professional golfer.
Oh,
and
all right. No Crump Cup for you, my friend.
I know. I was sort of. I'm not sure yet if it's a hill I'm willing to die on, but there's been this sort of backlash against the reinstated mid-am, even though I was a pretty bad.
Sure has.
I was a very bad professional golfer, but there's still something pure about continuing to be an increasingly worse professional golfer. Tom, what's left on your bucket list? Your golfing bucket list? I shouldn't say that. Not what's left. There's a finality to that. I'd like there to be a.
I know, right? Like once I play, then I drop dead on the 18th.
Yeah, no, that's terrible. I don't even like when Rory is sort of pigeonholed into like, all right, well, what's left for you to do? Because, he has such a long career ahead of him. But what's next on your horizon?
Yeah.
What are you thinking about?
I need to spend a good chunk of time down under. Australia, New Zealand. I went there a little bit in Paper Tiger, but I haven't done the heavyweights, the big names, and I keep putting it off because every time I start thinking about it, they start building another one, and it's one of those, like, I think there's a bit of a pause now where I should probably get down there, but it's like one of those deals where I'm doing this once. It's really far, not as far for you in Seattle, but this is too far to be bouncing back and forth. So when I go, I'm going to go for a month, and I'm going to golf my brains out, and so there's a lot of courses down there, but my white whale is Morfontaine. And I'm not shy about saying it to any listener out there who's looking for a buddy to play Morfontaine in France. And I'm not even sure why. Looks beautiful. I think it's just because they keep saying no. It's irresistible.
They've made a point to keep you out.
Yeah, I can't resist that. That's just makes me want to play even more. It's like a Seinfeld episode. They hate me so much. I just love it. No, they don't hate me. They just, and in fairness, I've asked to, I think I could get on. There have been some folks who've been generous that way, but I want to have a camera with me so that I can document the experience for publication in said Golfer's Journal, and that part is not happening yet. So in any event, it'll happen someday, with or without a camera. And I'm not always playing golf in France, but I would like to make it happen. Have you played Morfontaine?
Yeah, I mean, as luck would have it, just before the Ryder Cup.
I was going to say that'd be the time to do it, right?
Sean Zock and I snuck out there with the help of some good folks from the U.S. We were late, which is in really poor form.
I know he took pictures.
And we took pictures, and we probably won't be welcomed back. And
all right.
There was no one really there to tell us not to, I guess. There's barely, it's such a cool place. They opened the pro shop for us, which required like a key and a closet, and it was like an expanding, almost like a food truck within their cool clubhouse. Anyway, maybe the coolest place I've ever been. It's on my phone background, miraculously.
Oh, so great.
My wife and daughter will love that. But yeah. All right, Tom, leave us with this. If you're out there and you're thinking about buying a golf course, as so many are, what's one piece of advice? And should you do it?
You should absolutely do it. Because if you're interested in it, life is too short to not pursue the things that you're interested in or passionate about. We get one spin. Damn, time is going fast, and you should absolutely do it. That said, I would just say a piece of advice is that everything it's going to cost 2 to 3 times more than you thought. Everything. Tractors, seed, labor, all that stuff. So if you're going into it saying like, all right, we can trim here and cut there and we can get by on this, it's going to be really, really, you won't. So, go into it for the love of it. Don't go into it to, you're not gonna get rich, but you can get rich you'll be rich in spirit. Yeah. And what the hell? What's cooler than like showing up to a place and being like, this is my golf course, I forget that sometimes. Once in a while when I'm with someone, like usually when I'm with my family and I see my girls like run into the pro shop and like raid all the snacks, and I'm like, you go get those snacks, girls. This is our joint.
That's right.
It's good. It's fun.
That's terrific. Yeah, you paid for those at cost. Well, Tom, thanks so much for joining us. We hope you'll come back whenever you.
I would love to.
Before you write the next book in your series, we'll have you back. How about that?
Course called the Milky Way. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Yep.
All right. That's Tom Coyne. Go buy his books, especially a course called Home, so that you can rocket up those bestseller lists. Tom, we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me, Dylan. Really appreciate it.